you hear a lot about, I can't find good help. And what I have found is the help needs to come to you. If you create the culture, and this is something that you can't produce overnight, but if you produce a culture where people feel like they're taken care of and it's a great place to work, that the word is going to get out.
ATWF, welcome to All Things Wood Floor, the podcast for the Wood Floor Brilliant, brought to you by Wood Floor Business. I'm your host, Steve Diggins from Horizon Forest Products, the wood floor experts from Maine to Miami and a sharp turn right all the way to Texas, where today we're going to welcome Matt Garcia of Craftsman Hardwood Floors, San Angelo, Texas. Matt is an award-winning flooring contractor who'll be sharing his expertise working with high-end clients, his thoughts on craftsmanship, design elements, and business strategies in our industry today. Matt Garcia is the Floor Pro's Floor Pro, so welcome aboard, Floor Pros from around the world, and with no further delay, let's get to it! Don't even say it, Matt.
Yeah, you're like, I don't trust you. It's funny. I have this saying with the guys. So like when it comes to like stain samples and like, duplicating a stain or really even just putting I always tell my guys, listen, double check everything because I don't trust stain. Like like every time I I've already sampled it. Like I know everything's right, and I'm still like. I wipe it down and just stare at like the first swipe, and I'm like, before we get any farther than this, I'm going to really, really make sure that this stain color is what it needs to be.
Oh, Matthew Garcia, welcome finally at last to All Things Wood Floor. See, I didn't even give you the cue this time because I'm up and recording. So Saturday Night Live has their 2-timers or 5-timers club. You're the first official second guest I've ever had with no one ever even hearing you the first time.
Nice.
Got to count for something somewhere.
Yeah.
For those of the podcasts that don't know what's previously happened, we talked for, I don't know, it was just a short call, maybe, 5 hours. We solved all the world's problems. We came up with everything to help the flooring industry. And after we got done, none of it was recorded. So right now I have
fixed every problem.
Oh my God, NASA should call me. I've got Zoom recording now. So we will have video and audio, which I'll only share with you. I checked my recorder. I've got backup that's running a cord to the phone. I've got stuff all over the place just to make sure. I found out what went wrong. I'm watching the recorder. It says that we're up live and running. So welcome for the second time. Let me tell the people, Matt Garcia is from Craftsman Hardwood Flooring in San Angelo, Texas. You know what? Let's get right back at it while I'm fiddling with all this equipment and garbage. Give me a little bit about the area that you're in. Tell everybody what you do, and you and I will get rolling at this all over again.
Yeah, totally. I'm out of San Angelo, Texas. Moved here about 8 years ago from California and started my business from scratch. So I've been in the industry for over 20 years, but that's the area that I'm in, and been really loving it. We're kind of rural area. The town's about 100,000 people, but it's been definitely a nice journey, a nice ride.
Last time I was out there was, I think, 87. When it was my first NWFA convention in Dallas. And, I've been a member ever since. You got to be a good, you're 4 or 5 hours from there. Is that right? You're in the middle of the state?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We're about 4 hours from the nearest distribution, if that kind of puts things in perspective.
Well, what is the nearest distribution? Oh, from your distributor. Wow.
Yeah. Dallas area. Yeah.
What if I opened a place in Abilene? What's that, about an hour and a half?
No, that would be nice. Yeah.
Let's do that. I'll open it. What do you want? You like rosin paper, Aqua Bar B? I'll stock the whole place up. You'll be good to go.
All of the above.
But you're not from there, right? California, is that right?
Yep, California.
How did everything start there, and how'd you get over to Texas?
Yeah, so I'm third generation. My grandfather did it. My dad did it. When I was, so I obviously summers and weekends, with dad, and I actually, so my grandfather moved to Colorado, And, it's a different market than California where we were. And he was doing solid strip flooring and, unfinished. And we just weren't doing as much of that in California. And in fact, my dad wasn't even sanding and finishing. And so when I went to Colorado and I saw the unfinished wood and him, site finishing, and it really just lit that fire under my belt, seeing that. And so, that was really influential. So when when I was working, when I decided I actually graduated early at 16. Wow. And I did home studies and I aced the California high school proficiency test. And so my mom said, you got to go to school until you're 18 years old. And so I said, well, that's cool. I really don't mind school. I've been doing home studies. So, let's see how I can do in the college realm of things. And after 1 year, I think I worked at a golf course, like from 16 to 17, was going to school. I wanted to work. And so I kind of was basically doing school full time and work full time. And then I decided I wanted to go work with my dad because I just remembered, gosh, this the golf course thing, it doesn't hold a candle to what I did with my dad. So right. Of course I come back and do about a year and I'm just going, you know what? Like I like school. I really don't mind it, but everything that I want is in flooring. And I knew I wanted to go in the wood floor direction at that point. So being able to do that was just like a huge passion. I don't regret it one bit.
And that's your third generation, right? Your grandfather did this too?
Yes.
But they were all in California? Was it different there? Was it all, nailed down strip, or was there a lot of different things going on? I don't know what area of California where they were in. Was it different?
Yeah, I was born in Ventura, California, and they had some older homes and some, solid strip flooring that you commonly see more across the United States. But I grew up in Paso Robles, California, and it just doesn't have as much historical homes. There's a few here and there, but the refinish market is very low. A lot of new pre-finish was going in, and so that's what we capitalized on, was more so like the pre-finished market, because it was a big sheet vinyl and carpet market, believe it or not, and around like 1995, it really started shifting more towards a wood floor market, but it was more pre-finished stuff there. And so that's just what we did. So that's where I started. And, I would work with my grandfather in Colorado doing the site finish stuff. And that's really, I knew that I needed an opportunity to get into the site finish. And if I really wanted to do all the custom work that I wanted to do.
So, were you doing right off the bat install, sand and finish? Were they more sand and finish crew installed? Or they did a little bit of everything? Did they do carpet, vinyl tile, all that stuff?
In Colorado, or
starting with your grandparents and your father, did they do all of that? Was it everything or just wood flooring?
Actually, it was everything. They did commercial work, resilience, carpets. By the time I started with my dad, he said, "I'm done with carpet." Understandably. Yeah.
People say, I'm done with paint, I'm done with drywall, I'm done with carpet. It seems to be that.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
So then at what point in your career did you say, you know what, I think I'm going to do this and I'm going to take it from California to Texas? Was that recently?
About 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I actually met my wife. She was living in Kenya. She was working, for a children's home there. And when I had met her, she had been in Kenya for 2 years. And so I actually we met through a mutual friend, and I went to spend about a month in Kenya with her, and we just really hit it off. And we kind of came to a point where, okay, I live in Kenya, or she lives in Kenya, I live in California. And we just decided, hey, she needed to renew her visa. And so she came back to California with me. And so and it's kind of a neat story, but we were married like within a year. Like we just hit it off. Like it's just total, idealistic like love story there. And so I'm really blessed in that respect. But what it did is I was running the business with the family there in California. And so with my wife is born and raised where we live now in San Angelo, Texas. So once we started having kids, we had the opportunity to buy some property on some family land on a like kind of a ranch type farm, and it was riverfront, ponds, like 2 acre pond on the property, beautiful oak trees and everything. And I just go and I noticed that there was a bigger refinish market, and I knew, okay, that will really get the full wood flooring part of my career together, because now I can use that to really get my name out there on the site finish side, and doing the all the custom work I wanted to do. And it's just Texas is very business friendly, and it was just a great spot for me to open up my retail location. So it's like all the cards aligned, right? So it's like my family opportunity is great, business opportunity is great. It's just, hey, let's do it. Let's just roll.
It's a calling, man. It screams at you. So you were down there, but is that the Conchos River? Because they have the Conchos River walk. I mean, it's beautiful. You think, oh, it's a big desert. You look at the middle of the map, or you look at the Google Maps. I'm like, oh my God, it's absolutely beautiful down there. The homes must be stunning too. Like we have our Boston homes, or New Englanders, or et cetera. What is the design element there? Is it like we have our New Englander? What do you guys have? What's the standard fare down there for the older homes?
Yeah, it is interesting. You see the older homes, you see French Tudor style, Victorian style, colonial. I mean, it's really a hodgepodge. I was really surprised driving through the old parts of town when I first got here, because I see so many of the different styles of the older homes throughout the United States. And then you have the farmhouse style, and there really wasn't one particular style. But the newer homes, let's say you get past, because they got mid-century moderns here. I mean, it's interesting. And so, but most of the newer homes, they do have more of a unique Texas style, I would say. A lot of brick homes, but they use local brick and
like a
local
Southwest
stone.
Adobe, or just something different?
No, it's not. They call it Austin stone.
Okay.
And it's it's almost kind of like a mixture of farmhouse with some of the local building products that they use here. And it is a unique style. It's very much different than what you see new in California right now. You have more, there's not much Mediterranean look here, which that was very prominent in California. But yeah, I mean, you see a little bit of it here and there. Definitely was an adjustment. At first I didn't like it. And then it grew on me, and I'm going, oh wow, I actually have an appreciation for some of it. It's funny when it's like that mind shift has to happen, and you go, oh wow, this actually it's growing on me.
When you're a floor pro, you start working with that stuff. You start working in that media or that genre, and next thing you know, you get good at it. You're like, wow, I'm part of the culture. I'm part of the history, and you're digging it. You're picking up the same tools and the same design ideas from somebody 100 years ago, 75 years ago, 150 years ago. I know that you write and contribute to Wood Floor Business Magazine and other things, and I caught a little something in there. Was your company Craftsman Hardwood in was it Texas Living Magazine?
Yeah.
What was it? I saw some of those photos. How did you get into that one?
Yeah, so that was actually one of my projects that was more early on when we moved. Luckily, we had gotten linked up with a designer, and in the area that we're in wasn't offering, believe it or not, there wasn't any companies that were offering much in the new site finish realm of the business. It was either pre-finished, or you had companies that refinished, and it just so happened that most of the people that were doing both were either retiring or dying. Literally, that's the story I was getting. I'm like, are you serious here? And that's where it really did open up the opportunity, because this designer was looking for that. And so she really fed us that she helped change the culture of the types of flooring that people are used to seeing in San Angelo, because it was going to all tiles and LVPs. And I mean, it was really a shame. And it really was just that it wasn't on the menu. New site finish flooring was not on the menu. And so that has been a really cool ride to see. And it's, it gets in the magazines because it catches people attention. She now can name the stain color after her design firm, and
Wow.
have her own proprietary colors and things like that. And so, I mean, when she realized what we could do, and I was hungry, right?
Yep.
So, I'm just saying, hey, let me show you what we can do. Let's show this town what we can do, because now I'm site finishing and doing the custom work and really taking all the elements and putting it together.
Well, am I right? Well, you were doing hand scraping too, right?
Yeah.
We don't see that here at all. Is that just something that's a byproduct, or does somebody say, "Hi, I would like you to install a floor for me," and hand scrape it and finish it, or is it just something that you guys took up and ran with? Because I hear it's happening in the Southwest. It's not happening here.
Yeah. And just to be clear,
Yep.
I'm not a fan of the Texas cross scrape because every time I do a training or something, they hear oh, do you do that Texas cross scrape? And I'm just like, I guess it's a thing, but nobody's ever asked me to do it. And I'm just, I'm not a fan of that.
Listen, explain for us, what is the Texas cross scrape? Is that they just drag it right across and keep on going?
Yeah, cross grain.
Cross grain
it
and
almost
everything
makes it look like alligator skin, the way that the grains.
Well, when you see pre-finished companies do it, some of them you're like, really? They just take an angle grinder and just, or somebody will take a saw blade on an angle grinder and drag it across it. Then there's actual hand scraping, which I saw some photos of your guys doing with the grain, the right way.
Yeah.
But and I picked up some stuff from you too. It's great when you travel around the country, because I went to the office today and I said, I saw something, I noticed it, I logged it in my brain, never thought about it again. I was doing a floor inspection and just something struck me, and you said it last time. We were talking about pillowed edges. I got a pillowed edge. I've seen every edge, every type of floor construction there is. You said pillowed, and I never heard it, and it hit me like a ton of bricks what it was. And I went to my office, I dug through thousands of samples till I could find something, and I said, there it is! And I dragged my guys in, I go, look at this. Matt says, and I guarantee that's a pillowed edge. Where two floors come together, let's say it's pre-finished, and we get a lot of it now with the hand scraped or the sculpted, and it's not like the two edges of the boards just meet, or they're pinched, or they're beveled, or there's a deep bevel. The entire quarter-inch edge of the board just fades down, almost like a pillow. And you look at that floor, you go, how would I ever be able to refinish this? They're deep. Is that what that is that you were trying to explain to me, the pillowed edge?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a tapered edge. Yeah,
I've got a dry erase board, and I used to do a training class, so I just put one in last week, and I love. They're like, oh God, he's going to that thing again, and I love to draw. I go, this is the pillowed edge. It's now part of my portfolio. So I got your hand scraping, I got your pillowed edge, and then I'm looking, and online, you got an award. Was it 2021 Wood Floor Business? Which one was it? Award that you got? It must have been a design award. What was that for?
Yeah, so we actually put that floor in our showroom, and well, it wasn't really funny at the time, but the backstory behind that was I had signed a lease. I actually had a warehouse area in a building, and the front part of the building I thought would be an ideal showroom. It had a nice front, like rock work and nice front entry doors and all that kind of thing. And I go, oh, wow, that would be great. So I talked to the landlord shortly after signing the lease to get a warehouse in the back about the front, thinking, hey, just whenever this tenant is out, let me know. I'd like first dibs to put a showroom up there. And he goes, oh, that's great timing, because these guys are going to be out in like 2 months. So I go, well, I mean, he likes to sign 3 to 5 year leases, so I better jump on this now. So we signed the lease. I'm going, okay, here we go. This is the goal anyways. This is just going to post a little more on the fast track. And so, so basically fall of 2019 is when I did that. And of course the pandemic hits in 2020 shortly after. And I'm just going, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We just signed a lease on this thing. Like, I'm all in, we got to make this thing work. But anyways, I wanted to I didn't really want the every, 20, 30 square feet is a different floor look for the showroom. Right. I really just wanted a clean, nice looking, I believe we did a 4-inch white oak, it's just been so popular. and did that. But I wanted a showpiece right when you walk in that would just get people's creativity flowing, just kind of make their mind blow on what we actually can do. So it's like, okay, here we could do like the classic clean looking plank floor, or we can blow your socks off with the design. And we did curved elements in the border. We inlaid the Texas star into all the corners. We did a mansion weave with white oak and walnut, and I actually even stained the walnut a different color. I wanted the white oak to have a ceruse look, and I wanted the walnut to be like that iconic, dark walnut look. And obviously, if you try to put a ceruse product on walnut, it looks horrible. It just looks milky. And so I taped the entire thing off. I had about 14 hours of taping, but I stained the walnut in
everything.
Two different colors. Honestly, I think that's what really put it over the top, because that's what made it look striking. Seeing ceruse, look on the white oak, and then having the dark walnut. I mean, that's something you can't just slap on and produce. Like, it takes an extreme amount of effort.
No,
and I was really, when I was like 4 hours into it, I thought it would only take about 4 hours. And at the 4 hour mark, I was extremely regretting that choice. But I felt like I could just take all that tape off, and I just kept going and going.
Well, somebody told me decades ago, I was in retail when I was in college down in Florida, and my boss said, there are the trend-setting states. I go, what are those? They go, well, California, Texas, Florida. So, if there's a Chick-fil-A in California or Texas, we're going to see one in New Hampshire 70 years later. But so when you say ceruse, now hand scraping floors and some of these other elements of design, for those that don't know what a ceruse look is, in New England we used to say pickling, and it was, you could use gasoline, naphtha, alcohol, anything, bleach, whatever it took to kind of whiten and a floor. But when you ceruse a floor, typically that would be a lime wash, right, over the grain, so that when you're done and you cut it back, it leaves the pores of the wood with that, like a white, element, right? Then you do your work. Is that where the ceruse portion comes from?
Yeah, I didn't really do a heavy ceruse.
Okay.
And so, what it essentially did was there was enough white pigment in the oil that I had used to whiten the grain.
Right.
So because I needed something that I could get look on the white oak. And actually what I did is I ran everything over the walnut and the white oak in one shot.
Right. And
then I taped off all the white oak. And then, because, you can layer colors with the oils. And so I let that cure the first coat, and then I taped off all the white oak. And basically I stained the walnut like a charcoal color, and it canceled out the milky effect of the first coat of the oil.
And in your installation portion of it, if and by the way, for anybody listening, these photos are at Woodford Business Magazine, and Matt's got an article coming up soon. You'll see a lot of that. And I call you Mr. Router, because you do a lot of pin routing and things. I think when I ask people, what's your favorite floor tool, you're the only guy that would probably say router. I got my router. In some of those photos, you were doing some kind of intricate work. Were you doing the ribboning on the outside of those borders with a template? How were you doing that design work? And also, how did you fill those?
Yeah, so part of that story is, when we had the downtime with the pandemic, there wasn't any training happening. So I really wanted to go all in on the custom work. It's a passion of mine, and I'm just thinking, wow, if I can do my passion as my 9 to 5, how you're living the dream, basically, right? So I was bummed that there's no training going on. So I'm just going, hey, I'm just gonna wing it. I'm gonna do a lot of these things I want to learn at some trainings. And I threw up some drawings on some social media sites, and Lenny Hall contacted me, and he goes, hey, I can show you exactly how to make that. And I already had an idea in my head, but obviously he was sending me pictures of jigs, and what we ended up doing for that, he walked me right through the whole process and it was brilliant. I basically, if you look, the border is set at a diagonal. It's the white oak set at a diagonal.
Okay.
And what I did is I built a cradle for that diagonal. It's probably about a 5-inch wide border. And I made a cradle for that diagonal border strip, right? And there's a swing arm that pivots. And what it is, it almost, the inspiration behind that border was almost like a DNA code where it's got the double
like a helix. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like a double helix type pattern, right? And I was thinking, gosh, I don't know that I've seen that in a wood floor. And so obviously, if I've never seen a wood floor, I'm excited now because I'm going, hey, I want to get something that like is not your typical. I've seen other type of curve patterns, but not quite like the way that I did it, right? And so, he showed me how to build a swing arm jig that's it has to be adjustable. You have to be able to adjust the pivot point and the length of the arm, because I had an increment, and it's all balanced. The border lands into the corners they're symmetrical all the way around. So I was able to, from each length, I actually either made the pattern a little wider or shorter so that it's all symmetrical all the way around. So he walked me through all that. It was just such a blessing because, he loves to train, right? Shout out to Lenny, right? COVID didn't stop him from training, right? I mean, he's on the phone sending me pictures.
Oh, Lenny Hall. Lenny Hall's from Endurance, right? Endurance floors?
Endurance flooring, yep.
You guys did all that virtually, right?
Yeah. All virtual,
that's a good thing that came out of COVID. I did a lot of floor inspections, helped a lot of people virtual. And boy, if they've got a tape measure on the other end and I can just get a little video shot, there was a lot that you can accomplish. I looked at some of that you're working on. Again, what I liked is everybody that opens a showroom will make 30, 40, 50 panels, samples, do things in the floor. And that's interesting. I like that you just did the one intricate open thing, so it's not too busy. It's not all consuming. I think that I find we talked about this on the podcast several times in the industry. There's this artistry relationship where you can take something to a certain level and you take your craftsmanship and all your technical knowledge, but then the artistic part of you is what separates everybody. You bring it out, and that's kind of what I think that you were doing. Let's not make this complicated. Let's make it look timeless. When you look at the people that have won multiple Floor of the Year, etc., you don't look at that and go, I think I'd be bored with that after about a year and I'd want to rip it out. No, it looks time like a really good song. It stands the test of time. The pattern on that was absolutely beautiful. What did you wind up doing for finishing? Was that like a rubbed finish, or did you poly that? What'd you do there?
Yeah, we did 2 coats of Bonacraft oil on it. Like I said, the first was a white pigmented that give it a little bit of the cerise look. Sure. And that was the first time I really ever messed with oils too much. And the reason I used that product is because I knew it could be overcoated with poly. And it was kind of a test. So what I did is I like the versatility of being able to layer colors. And that was kind of my first, real taste of that. I'm just going, hey, a lot of this is a big experiment. I'm testing my skills. I want to test products that I've never used before. I want to layer colors and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the opportunity was great, was just, hey, let's put it in our showroom and tell people, hey, this is our work. This is, complicated, high level. You can't just slap this stuff down, right? So especially when you're layering colors, there's cure times and a lot that you have to consider, right? So I did that so that I actually left my office with the oil, and we ended up top coating with poly, the water-based poly, the whole showroom and everything. But it was really neat to see. I mean, the compatibility of products is incredible now. I mean, the idea that you could top coat 2 layers of a penetrating type oil with poly. I mean, it's really unbelievable that you can do that. And part of me was going, I want to test this theory.
Some you can, some you cannot, and some you have to use a bonding agent.
Yeah, some of them you can't. Yeah, right. Exactly. But if you really know your products, you can see the versatility of it. So if you want to layer colors and be able to top coat it with the 2K water-based poly, yep, there's products available for that. I mean, it's just incredible that you can do that. And yeah, I mean, you got to definitely. I'm not suggesting you just do that, But, a lot of these companies have options for that kind of stuff. Some of them, there's benefits both ways of being able to code it and not code it, right? So definitely would suggest, maybe talking to your rep and understand what you're doing. But you know what? It worked out fine. I mean, it was flawless. I have no wear issues, no pilling issues. I mean, it worked exactly how it's supposed to.
And I know that, whether you'll admit it or not, I think people need to know that you brought rugs into the place, just for the record.
Yeah, area rugs.
What the hell are you thinking, dragging rugs into this place? You got that beautiful hardwood floor, you putting your samples up, and I will say this, I'm impressed because a lot of what's in the market today is the mixed media, and people don't realize, as you know, they look at a hardwood floor and they say, "Oh, I like this color," and then you shock them and you go, "Well, let's say it's gone stuck. It looks great now in my showroom at noon. What's it going to look like when the sun goes down? A big brown floor." So if you're doing intricate work like this, and you are selling in your showroom your rugs or let's say tile, etc., people don't have to drag in their countertops. They can, or pieces in that. People don't realize the colors that pull out of those things. I had somebody come in the other day. They brought a ceramic tile, and I was glad that the woman did, because she looked at the floor and said, "It's never going to work. You're just going to see pink." And it ripped the pink right out of that marble, and also greens, because it was a white oak. We moved her into a hickory with a little bit of like an apple cider color. Boom, pulled all the colors, it matched everything evenly. And that's an opportunity in your store to look at rugs, which they'll probably have, furnishings, tile, vinyl. Do your customers bring in all sorts of crazy samples to match up with your hardwood flooring?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they bring kitchen cabinet doors and, all that.
Refrigerators.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Where's my stainless steel look against your floor? No. So I've had, I think us in the industry stereotypically probably get too technical at times, I think, with things. Not that it's a bad thing, but when you're selling a project with a client, right, a lot of times they're going to get excited about decorating. And so I was against the tile at first, and my mom, she's my sales manager, and it's just been awesome because she fits the demographic of our client, right? And so we went to a convention, and she found these beautiful high-end tiles. I mean, honestly, I'm a wood snob, but these tiles are beautiful, right? And she goes, "Look, it's going to be like jewelry for the showroom." And she's trying to sell me on this, and the tile distribution they want to get in our area. You know what I mean? So they're like, we're going to send you just pay the shipping, and we'll send all this stuff to you. And they really did. They gave us a pretty good deal there, right? But the client being able to decorate and take the tiles and match them up against there. We just had a lady that is extremely picky, and she loves us because, it's really more so my mom will spend the time with her and get excited about bringing all the elements, the color pop that it brings, the rugs. You don't realize it, but wood is at a point in your showroom, it's so much of the wood is neutral, right? You don't have that pop.
There's no life to it, right? It doesn't pop.
Yeah, exactly. And so, putting the rugs and putting these beautiful tiles and things in the showroom, it blew my mind because people get so much more excited about the process, right? And if they're in a good mood, right? I mean, if we're in a good mood, we're going to spend some money. We're going to be happy. We're going to be confident in the process. So, it really humbled me in my vision for the company, being a technical wood floor nerd, right? Just going, wow, I really got to open my eyes to the opportunities that are right in front of us.
Well, those design elements are, like you say, what pops. Things can pop badly. I have a neighbor who has a beautiful home, and they painted it just white. It's like a linen white, whatever. Yeah, it was white until it snowed. We got like 3 feet of snow. The house was lavender. Once the actual snow, they're like, I go, "What section did you pick your white paint from? This has got lavender." House looks purple in the winter. So when you're talking about that, one of our biggest culprits is people buy a house and they go, "I want to get all the red out of this floor," and they have 3,000 feet of red oak flooring. And, I guess there's some new products that might help with that. But in the old days, I think you're going to have a lot of problem hiding that red. When people come into your showroom, Are they scheduling to meet you there, or do they work with your mom or a design person? They bring their own design person. How do they start it all off?
Really, all the above in a way. We're open 10 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so, we do appointments to do. I have found that people they're not big on appointments. That's one of the reasons why we went full retail. And I don't know if it's just the area, but just the shop at home, make appointment type business model. They feel like they're intruding on you, I have found.
Sure.
And so, even though we're not open on weekends or evenings, it's like people, if they see, you're open from this time to this time, then you're good. And then I love working with designers.
Sure.
They make it, they're going to bring you the fun projects, right? And if you really show them the value, they will sell you. I mean, you're an asset to them at that point. If you have patience with them, you learn how they click, and you throw out, hey, this is going to be neat for you. Maybe I hand cut a pattern for an entryway. And like I said, we named the stain after your company already. Now we're going to we're going to make a custom pattern for you, right? Like, sure. This is going to be your signature. And they eat it up, and it makes it fun. Like, we don't need to, always make things, generic. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be big and extravagant for the year. I love just doing a simple border or something in the right spot. You know what I mean? And bam, like now your floor is different than everybody else's floor around you. And it for the employees, it gives them something different. We could sell that value for higher margins than you can standard. So, I mean, really, if you just kind of add that to your portfolio and start off small, I mean, I wouldn't change it any other way. Otherwise, I would just get bored. I've been in this industry for, since I was a baby, basically. Right, and it's right. Like, I want to have fun now, when
designers really appreciate you and you get that working relationship, when you learn to tell them no, and they appreciate it, because they want, typically designers, or they come out of school, they're design engineers, want to promise their customers, and they're usually very wealthy, they can have whatever they want. And they never look at the other parts of the technical aspects of the flooring. Then they get somebody like you that will put up that wall and say, well, listen, before you put 5-inch maple over radiant heat and try to bleach it, we need to talk about where we're going, because I know your customer has more money than God, and they're going to do all these things, but we need to go there. I was training some guys this week, and I said, we got to come up with something for you newer people to understand, and I call it the wish list, WISH. This is what we mentally go through. I'll first ask, what are you looking for? What's your aesthetic? And it's very simple when you have 1,000 floors. You like grain, you don't like grain. Color, no color. Stain, no stain. Let's get the aesthetic down. Then we get right into our installation. Who's putting this in? So I know the level of expertise. Is it a glue down? Is it a nail down? Then what's the subfloor? Then I'll go, okay, I understand. Let's talk about species, because you like hickory and you have a wood stove, it's going to crack. Or you might like red oak graining, but you don't want the red to pull out of it. And then we get into, all right, and what is your heat system? Because I need to know, is it radiant heat? Is it hydronic radiant heat? Once I have those components, like you said, they don't need to see the entire showroom. I've got it down now. Let's start pulling samples and working something like this. That's where, like you're saying, you get to work with a design engineer, a design person, and now you're colleagues. Now you're working together to meet their aesthetic with what functionally works for what you're doing. And your mom does this stuff? She does all this? Because I'd like to see this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We work really good together. And I mean, it's having a family business, especially the son being the owner of the company, we definitely had to set boundaries and expectations right up front with that and everything. But I mean, it's been a blessing for her. It's been a blessing for me. So, honest, I wouldn't have, even through the hard times, there's been times where I had to treat her like, I told her from the beginning, I got to treat you like any other employee in this company, or else they will not respect you. And I know I had gotten advice from mentors telling me this, you have to set that, expectation. Hey, I'm a son, but I'm also the owner of the company. And, and it's like, now it's like, we're working like such a well-oiled machine right now. Not that everything's perfect and every day's roses, but, I'm excited about where we're taking things and seeing my mom grow and thrive in the company and really just like setting the culture. It's, yeah, I mean, it's really amazing to see all that, especially when we put so much sweat equity into this business. To see the reward of that is it's incredibly rewarding to have all that come together like that.
They don't bust you. Hey, the lady in the office cut the crust off your PB and J, Matt. Does this happen every day? They don't.
No. You know what's funny is my wife on Monday. The kids were off on Monday, and like her parents were out of town. The sitter was unavailable, and I have 4 kids, and she had the doctor's appointment for one. Obviously, she does not want to bring all the kids into the doctor's appointment, right? And so I go, let me talk to my mom. So guess what? The kids, were in the office, and my mom couldn't get much done, but
right.
Hey, the kids are there, and she kept them for about an hour and a half while we did that. So it's, it is an interesting dynamic sometimes because it's like, well, hey, we're kind of out of options here. Of course, my mom was like, oh, give me those grandbabies. I'll take care of it. So.
Hey, at the end of my retail career, we had a gift shop in a barn, and my mother-in-law helped me, my father, grandfather, and we were all in the same place because back then, if you had an answering machine, you might get work, but she would run all the calls through the gift shop because it was a slow day, and people would hire me just because a human being answered, and they loved my mother-in-law. So they would give us the job right off the bat, and we'd be booked up like crazy. And then later, you had a chance to put a phone on your hip or bring in a cell phone or whatever. So you bring in anybody to that business that can possibly keep it rolling, and I'm sure they love the fact that your mom is literally part of the family.
Yeah, people really did. Okay, so this is actually a really, really neat thing. So, and I never planned any of this, but it worked out perfectly. When we did all that intricate work in our showroom, right? So basically, when people come into the showroom, she is just bragging on her son. Look at what look at what my son can do. I'm so proud of him. He's won these awards, and it's just like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, how do you outsell that? It's so natural. I'm just going, I couldn't have marketed that any better.
See that? She loves you. We had an old farmhouse. I had just started for a floor company. I wanted to do my living room. I took a Porta-Cable clapboard sander. You get paint off a house, and I ground down my entire dining room, only to find out as I got better at flooring that was a terrible thing. And she's still bringing people in the house when I'm not home going, look at his work. Isn't it beautiful? I'm like, don't show him that. I do that, they'll fire me. It took a long time to learn how to run an edger and do those things.
That's hilarious.
What does the business look? So you started out with the install, the sanding, finishing, and centering. What point did you say, you know what, we need a showroom for this? What dragged you into that part of it?
I was running samples all over town, trying to keep my install crews going and everything. And it just, part of it, I needed office help. I needed customer service help. I think at my lowest point, I realized I have way too many voicemails. I have way too many messages. I'm not completing projects on time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just going, but I don't want to take all the opportunity of the business that we're getting and squandering. It's good business. And so that's kind of a little bit by necessity. I grew a little bit quicker than I wanted, but I'm more of a slow growth, firm foundation type of person.
Yep.
And so that was fine with me. But most of it was out of necessity. Just needing help, and having the showroom it's a huge asset. It's tough. One of the things I appreciate about what you bring to the table in your podcast is you've had some guests on that were talking about the struggles of retail and expansion and, running more crews. You think, oh, if I just add this many crews, I'm going to get this much profit, and there's diminishing returns there. And, you're really good at hitting those pain points, bringing it out of those guests, because, a couple of times during your podcast, I'm just thinking this guy is reading my mail.
Right.
it's like as if, like I got this and that going that I'm working through building my business, because I mean, you started the podcast around the time that I'm trying to build this up, and you're talking about those things that people don't talk about, right? There's the awesome glory part of having, this award-winning floor in the showroom and all of these other things, but cash flow. I mean, you could be amazing at your craft and not understand cash flow, and that can sink your business right there. And it's not something that's easy to understand. The basics are, but really when it comes down to it, what's your accounts receivable, right? And what are your bills? Okay. Right. There's no business book in the world that's going to tell you how to fix every specific situation, right? Like you can get systems and processes, but honestly, having the asset of being a fly on the wall and hearing those conversations, I mean, you're doing a huge service to the industry. I know if it's helped me the way that it has pushed through those pain points, that's huge. I mean, that's honestly, there's a couple times where I brought the podcast to my wife and played excerpts, and I said, listen to this. Can you believe how spot on this is to what we're going through? And they're having a conversation about how to push through it.
Oh, and yeah.
It gave us the motivation.
Yeah, keep talking about me. I like this. This is good. We almost lost this the last time. You said it, pain point, which there's two things. One, I think I learned a long time ago that I wanted to be, I think, a lawyer in college, and I looked it up in the phone book, and like a quarter inch of that phone book was nothing but attorneys, and I don't want it. That's too competitive to me. I once got off the boat in San Francisco, and I looked at the population, and I said, I don't want to be here. It just seemed, this is so overwhelming, how many people and what they do. But it never really occurred to me in hardwood flooring, I wanted to be that guy that designed the floor of the year, win the floor of the year. I did not turn out to be that floor guy. I was just an average floor guy, but I studied it and studied it and studied it, and I love it, and I like the technical, and I found out, I'm in a whole other part of hardwood flooring, and today it's making friends with colleagues and consulting. What I found out is what you're pointing at is the people that make it in this industry and do good things, we are colleagues, we're not co-workers, and it's a fellowship. Men, women of every type, and we've talked about it. It might be 99% of my customers might be guys. 100% of their customers are women. It's not that there aren't women in the industry. It's where are they? They're on the design element end of it, owning showrooms, owning businesses, doing design work. There are some in the field physically doing the work. There's less men doing the designing, the showroom, the tile work, the vinyl, the rugs, etc. And what I found with the podcast, that we bring in the best of the best of the best to talk about exactly what is it that you do that we all can kind of commiserate and share about, but that lends us into this part of the industry where we can maybe look at our pluses, our minuses. Like you just alluded to, you're the greatest floor guy in the world. You go home and you go, I haven't paid a bill in a month. Like, that's not your gig. Maybe you need to find the person to do that. I think watching what you did, learning from your install, your sand and finish, and knowing and speaking with you, you're always looking for answers as to how do I do my craft, but keep my business running so it'll support that craft. I think, man, I give you kudos for that.
Yeah. Having a good business culture is huge for me. I want everybody to be successful that is in the company. And it just, to me, what we do is so much bigger than what we produce, right? The people that work for me have families, right? They have dreams, they have hopes, they have ambitions, they may have struggles, right? And to me, if we can provide a culture that facilitates them to succeed in their life, the business is going to benefit from that hugely. I mean, you can't make that kind of stuff up. And when people see the people thriving in your business, it's going to attract them to you. It's just, you hear a lot about, I can't find good help.
Right.
And what I have found is the help needs to come to you. If you create the culture, and this is something that you can't produce overnight, but if you produce a culture where people feel like they're taken care of and it's a great place to work, that the word is going to get out, and then those people are going to then come to you. And we're still working a lot of that out. I created a bonus structure that rewards, people that are rock stars in our business,
Sure.
and gives other people a path forward, so they can really see, here is a training path and a career path that coincide together, right? And I can see how I can progress through this industry. And not only that, but like what you said, if one of my guys gets hurt and they can't actually do installs for some reason, I want them to be able to get onto maybe a technical side, or maybe they can still travel or something, and they could be a rep or work for a distributor. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. And for me, I feel like I have an obligation to get myself out in the industry, right, and build those connections, because everybody's going to benefit from that, and I can retain the people that I train, right, because they say, hey, this guy takes care of me. He gives me the upside as if I was running my own company. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I have ownership in this thing. And I think that's a real big thing that some other trades have done a little bit better for, creating that opportunity and that career path and earning potential. And I see a lot of elements coming together in the wood flooring trade. I think we'll get there, but I feel like we are a little bit behind on that business side. We've gotten really good about sharing information on techniques and all that kind of stuff. And I think that that's going to spill over into the business side, where you're going to see people rising up and sharing business models and, having opportunities to hands-on and learn. And I've been experiencing that firsthand. I've had people reaching out to me and I'm going, hey, I want to be a part of that, right? Like, I want to, bring a lot of those elements in that I'm seeing, I'm in some masterminds basically. Sure. And seeing how, maybe tile's doing it a little bit differently. And I have a friend that's a plumber. I see how they do it. I'm like going, man, if we could bring this together, I mean, it could be revolutionary for our trade.
It's like a rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah.
You have that philosophy. If we share everything and elevate everything, then we could all do very well from this. It's, I think, what you're sharing with your people and you're learning. And don't you find, I spoke with you a short while ago and I went back and I was taking notes, like, wow, I just learned a bunch of stuff. And there was something I ran into today and I'm like, I'm still learning, man. I can't believe that I still ran into something in flooring that I just learned today. Throw it in my portfolio, and I can't wait to share it with other people. And you get to meet great people around the industry that do amazing things. I think what you're bringing to the table, you got the right idea, man. The one thing you can trust is that change is never ending, and improvement should be constant and never ending. When you're sharing this with your people and you're seeing that enthusiasm, how does the day work for you? Like, how much time can you actually get to your showroom as opposed to being out in the field? Or do you have people that run crews for you? Like, what's the day look like?
Yeah, so I do have to strategize right now because I am toggling between being in the field and being in the office. We're pretty close to being to the point where the office can run substantially on its own and the field can. So I have a couple of crews that I run, and so I try to more so be involved when it's more custom work, because that's kind of the area that I thrive in and prefer to be in. And so I'm not an office person, so right. It's kind of funny because, you can, if you actually hire out your office and they kill it, right, you could be in the field if you wanted to all the time, right? As an owner, there's always going to be that element of ownership, but I would really prefer to have a balance where I do what I love in the office side, sales side. Really what I'd love to do is just do estimates and be with the clients and be a little bit of a part of the design process, and then, go hang out with the guys and in the field and work with my hands. And so I'm really, my goal is really that the business runs entirely on its own. And we're almost to the point where when I walk in, they go, hey, you're messing things up. Like, let us do it. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, that's the dream, right?
Right. That would do it.
Yeah, that way I really can choose what I want to do and where I want to be, and have that freedom that the business and really ultimately everybody's better off if because everybody's reaching their potential, right? If they don't need hand holding necessarily, to where maybe they just bring, hey, this could really affect the company. I think you should be a part of this decision. Like, you know what I mean? Be a part of those conversations, not, how do I do X, Y, and Z? And part of that too is I'm still working up a training regimen for the field. We do need to hire more installers and sand and finishers. And so I really I've trained every single person on our team. And now my task is to teach them how to train and duplicate.
Sure.
And part of that, they need the tools at their disposal to do that. One thing I realize is the way I was trained is not ideal. Right. You don't want to have to find the diamond in the rough to create a good technician, right? You want to be able to take somebody that's got the right attitude and is responsible, has integrity, and you want anybody that has those elements to be able to succeed. I mean, obviously you do need some mechanics, hand skills, but you shouldn't have to be like, the 0.5% of the population that could do it. I think if you have the proper training. So that's what I'm working. I mean, the technology is exploded
Sure.
to make things. I mean, you could produce an amazing quality floor with less skill nowadays than you ever could. Not to diminish any other types of, techniques or style. I mean, you could have the basic sanding tools and create amazing quality, but how quickly you can train somebody now using some of the equipment that they have with planetary sanders and other types of techniques. I mean, it is pretty amazing the quality that you can produce. We had to do that because I learned mid-career how to do sand and finish, right? Sure. I was forced to adopt technology and produce it because that's when I came into the industry, right? So I feel like I actually have a little bit of an advantage in that way because I had to figure out a way that was duplicatable right off the bat.
This podcast is brought to you by Horizon Forest Products. With over 75 years of industry experience and one of the most comprehensive inventories of pre-finish and unfinished hardwood flooring, floor equipment, abrasives, finishes, fasteners, and accessories, Horizon Forest Products is now proud to span the entire East Coast and Texas. The company's large footprint allows them to serve customers from Maine to Florida and Texas with the same high-quality products and exceptional customer service that has made them one of the fastest-growing hardwood distributors in the U.S. Horizon Forest Products loves its customers, and it shows. Visit their website at horizonforest.com to learn more.
Sometimes I see what separates the best of the best isn't always, like you said, the technology. They can use it or they can make it happen. But sometimes when that technology becomes easier, makes the job easier, things can go wrong easier. It's the best of the best are the ones when there is adversity, they turn it around. They don't run from it. You keep the money. I'm going to disconnect my phone. I'm going to go hide. They find a way to get right back in, make it right. Or what you and a lot of people do, they go seek counsel. I talk to people all the time. If I have to get a hold of the expert's expert, I'll get a hold of them and say, listen, I'm not confident with what I'm doing or what I'm working on. You kind of bring them in, you work that out. And you mentioned, explain this for me, pain points. You mentioned that. We've talked about it before. There are pain points in your career, in your job, in your decision making. Give me a little scoop what you're talking about when you talk about pain points.
Yeah, I think the best way I could describe it is I formed some relationships with other colleagues and peers in the flooring industry. And I've had some of them calling me just stressed. I mean, just stressed, right? And they're just going, and I mean, they're producing incredible work, and you're having this conversation going, wow, like I'm either there right now or I just got through that, that issue or this or that thing. And it's like, it just hearing and reaching out, it's pretty amazing the difference when you don't feel like you're alone in it. just because it's like, wow, these are people that I respect, and we're having a heart to heart conversation right now. And if I had never gotten myself out there, never gotten mentors, and had peers that I could reach out to and talk to, I mean, we there's the I believe that hey, sometimes you need to pull up the britches and get through it, right? Like, I'm not a softie in that sense, but there is a huge value in connection, right? And reaching out. And I would highly encourage people to do that. People have reached out to me. I've reached out to other people. You know what I mean? It's a symbiotic relationship. And, what's happening on the outside that you see maybe in pictures or magazines or social media, there's a backstory. I mean, there's been some, Floor of the Year awards, and you get to chatting with some of these people, and they're telling you, oh my gosh, it was a near disaster.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we didn't think it was going to turn out. I nearly, kicked the, walked out on the project, and it's like, oh man, like, this is real. This is where this is reality right here.
I told you I want to do a Deadliest Catch after the Catch podcast with floor people, because we'll talk like you and I are, like you're talking about, some of the greatest people in the world. And when the mics are off, then they'll go, let me tell you about that. This didn't pay me, and I had my Floor of the Year, blah, blah, blah. And they got stories, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. It's no different than any other trade, any other career, anything. But when you mentor with people, when you start out, you feel like I'm a floor person. I got a lot to learn, and these people are my competition. You get to meet these people. Like, I'd get on a big project and say, I don't want to lose this. I'm too small. I'd call 8 other flooring companies, and they'd be very standoffish. And you know what happened over the years? We'd get together all the time on these things. Rather than have some stray company come in and do 100,000 feet, we had 8 or 9 crews, get them all together. And we wound up being very good colleagues. There's plenty enough work for anybody. I think it would be like anything like a master painter. I mean, if I like impressionistic painting. So Manet's not Monet's, not Gauguin's, not Renoir. There's room for everybody. You can see the element and the design and their signature on things. There's room for all of that. If you look at an Eddie Van Halen guitar solo, it's Eddie. Now, how much more can they possibly do? We don't need one flooring person. We don't need one installer. You need a lot of them. And working together, you find as a craftsman, you do add some things to your portfolio. Like you said, pin routing and design and hand scraping. And you meet somebody like, Michael Purser, who's doing, not even using equipment and machinery. He's using chemistry, or some of these people. And you go, I'd really like to hear a little bit about that. I think that that's very fascinating, that you go out. And I hear this in seminars, even bonus seminars. They say, are you an expert 20 years and you woke up and did the same thing every day for 20 years? Or did you learn something? And I know that you make it a note to pick up material everywhere you possibly can.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's every opportunity to learn is just, it's another tool in your tool belt. And really, you want as many of those tools as you can. It's an asset at that point, so it's just one of the biggest revelations that I've had, expanding the business, is how valuable teams and networks are, right? So I'm building my team within my business and, investing and pouring into them, right? And not only that, but, now we're venturing into tile, right? And so I found out that one of the NTCA trainers for tile is in our town. He just became and I had no idea he was here.
Wow.
And so we're reaching out, nerding out about the certifications we have and how this town needs, like the standards raised. It's a little behind the times, as far as that goes. Some of the products that have been around for a while are just hitting this area, and he's bringing them in through distribution. We don't really have distribution. That's part of the reason, but we're reaching out to the farm supply place. They're carrying Ardex now, with their full line. And it's like, okay, they got all the shower systems for full waterproofing and all the drain systems that tie into it. People were just Frankensteining systems together from Lowe's and Home Depot at a professional level. And it just, I guarantee probably 75% of the showers here leak. Right. And that's just expected. You know what I mean? And it's just like, wow. But you just see, so now and he's certifying some of the people in our town for tile. And I'm going to those people and saying, we can sell guaranteed leak-proof, warranted shower systems,
right?
Because I know that you have the training for it, right?
Sure.
And that's that's our network, right? And I can bring them in, and it's so much more valuable than not building those networks, because people, they know and trust us, right? And we got this beautiful tile line. Well, now they say, hey, I want you to do more for us. I want you to do this. And it's like, I don't feel comfortable going into a segment unless I feel confident that we can produce the quality. But it's, hey, I got certified people and a trainer in my town. I could just call them up because I made the investment in the relationship, right?
Right.
And we can create amazing tile showers now.
Right.
And we got the products to do it. And so I'm just going, that's, getting the product and the certified installers, like all coming in at the same time. We're way ahead of the curve now. I mean, we don't even have a reputation as a tile company, and we're already like starting up here at the top.
Right. You have all that confidence. There's nothing better than having expertise and the training and the confidence when you're going into any situation. I used to go to a floor inspection and be in the driveway shaking in my boots. I didn't even want to go in. And then I learned a long time ago, very simply, and I say it to everybody, the floor tells the story. I'm not a witness. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't work this job. Let me go in. The floor will tell me the story. I'll go back. I'll write this all up, and we'll talk about, you can point fingers and decide if there's somebody at fault here. My job isn't that. My job is to go in, inspect, find out what needs to be done to correct this, give you 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 recipes, let you decide what's fair and work it out. And then I can tell you exactly how to perform those procedures. And that comes from confidence, years of speaking with people much brighter than I am, and listening to leaders, not managers that push you around, but do what you do, that you lead people, you teach and you train and you share with them, and you're building their portfolio. The idea is not for you to leave with all the marbles, is to say that you imparted this upon others that appreciate it. And, hey, if they give you a thank you down the road and they say, thanks for all I've learned from you and everything, that's a heck of a reward.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really being humble is such a huge factor for success. It's just, I've had times where I couldn't make someone happy. I either didn't set expectations, or I just flat out, I had an old house that needed we raised the floor up to put in some solid wood flooring, and it had some foundational issues that we kind of addressed kind of when we were building the floor up. But I had to recut the door and put in a new threshold to make everything work. And the old threshold was just crud. So I just was like, anything's an upgrade to this thing. It was a 100-year-old home, and so I put in the new threshold. They hated the threshold. Just hated it. And I cut their door to that threshold. And I'm like the enemy. I'm just going, man, I've won awards and done all of these incredible patterns and crafts, and you guys the guy literally did not want to even talk to me. He talked to my mom and said, don't have him call me back. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I did not realize that this is going to spiral out of control.
Right.
And I had to humble myself and go, you know what? Like, I'm really not a door guy.
Right.
Maybe I should have, reached out here, and then I wouldn't have to deal with this.
That's when you go, is this guy really making me mad, or am I mad because he's right? That's when that really hurts.
Yeah, it really does. And, when he pointed out what he didn't like, I'm just going, I don't fully agree with you, but you're not wrong.
Right.
So, where do we go? I had to, take it on the chin on that one and, get humble. And, I took a substantial amount off the bit. I'm like, hey, what do we need to do to make this right? And he told me, and I'm just like, oh, geez, my knees. Like, am I really responsible for your door jam and redoing all this, but it's just, what? Hey, hopefully you can walk away, feel like we were trying to be, have integrity, even though you were unhappy, then that's the best I'm going to get.
Sure. Do you think that implement from doing all your sanding, finishing, installation, all you've learned in implementing the showroom, do you think that, listen, I ask this because I do a lot of consulting for people, and now they've got that level. I'm going to build a showroom. I'm going to do those floors and samples. And my distributor said they're going to give me a fork, all this stuff. And then I'll usually tell them, yeah, here's my advice. Don't do this. Unless you really, really know what you're doing, that is a lot of money, and it'll start out 5 days a week, which will become by appointment only, which will be Saturday only, which be like, I'm shutting this down. We didn't need it. But there are the people that do it right. Do you feel like at this point that showroom is doing what you wanted, or is it something different, and is it working for you?
It's a challenge building up to this point, but really I feel like we've reached a precipice as far as really being able to look over the horizon now and see the potential, because the reason I wanted to get into retail is I really love selling product. And the thing is with product, one of the things that you had mentioned that on one of your other podcasts that just hit the nail on the head was you think the building is the expensive part. Hiring people to be in the building is where it hits the pocketbook, right? Because they have to be paid to produce, but there's a lag. They're not just going to hit the ground running and selling $1 million a year, right? But you still have to pay them to get to that point, right? And so that right there, I was just going, oh my gosh, I had that fallacy in my head that the building, rent is inexpensive in San Angelo, right?
Okay.
We're really hit me with, it's 1% of our revenue.
Wow.
And I just going, why was I thinking that was the part that was going to be and I want to, we want to buy our own building here pretty soon and expand our showroom. So we really do have the room to, carry all the products that we want to. But yeah, that right there was just the biggest element.
Well, you're right. You got to look at, there's your ROI, ROA, return on assets, return on investment. And at some point, you can't really just wing it. There's got to be a point where that you're returning a profit. I used to say, people say, well, your prices seem high. I'm like, well, we have definitely earned a profit. It's valuable and we've earned it. We're not gouging anybody, but we know what we do. We know what level we work at. And for you to get, the most valuable piece of furniture in your home, and for you to say, I love my floors, which is what we're looking for. Everybody has to work at a certain level. And you said it, not everybody's starting at that level. That's why I always ask people, how long have you been with the company? When did you run the edger? Everybody wants to give the edger to the new guy. It's the worst thing that you can do. We all know that. But nobody really wants to run the thing. It's going to break your back. So there's a lot of those parts of those skills that have to come into place. Now, with you in particular, and I've worked in, oh my God, multi-million dollar homes and different that, but you've worked for billionaires. What is it like to work for somebody that is a billionaire?
Yeah, so the first billionaire project that we had gotten, I actually, this is kind of funny. We had gotten an email because what got our foot in the door is that we're certified with the NWFA,
right?
Sand and finish and install, right? And part of what the architect specs is that you have to have a certified person to even bid the project, sure. Right? So we get an email that starts talking, they need, 10,000 square feet of wood floor, and it's just very generic looking. And so my mom says, hey, what do you want to do with this email? I'm like, what? It sounds like those things where there's a developer coming into town and they, they're just trying to price shop to try to make a bid to get a development or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think it's going to be just this low end, price gouge situation. Right? So I tell her, just blow them off. Right.
Right.
She basically kind of blows them off, and then they email back and they say, no, we really want you to bid on this project. But you got to sign these non-disclosure agreements.
Sure. NDAs.
Because I told her to blow them off, but she kind of was like, I'm gonna kind of blow them off, but not to let you know what I mean.
Right.
She kind of had more intuition than I thought, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, and I'm going, what non-disclosure? What the heck is going on here? So I'm like, okay, so we signed a non-disclosure, and it's like a 55,000 square foot home. Wow. It's got metal inlay floors. It's got, the average floor is, north of $100 a square foot.
Right.
Like the size of a Walmart, but you're talking IMAX theaters and indoor shooting ranges and golf simulators. I mean, anything that spas, salons. I mean, I'm like, who has a spa and a salon in their house? But it's just kind of like, wow, that is
It
incredible
exists.
yeah, and you wouldn't even know that was because I tell people that say, oh, I can't do like custom or high end work in my area, and it's like, maybe you don't have the access that other people do in some areas, but I guarantee you there's a lot of people that if custom high end work is on the menu, right, it's thrown out there for people to find, and you build that reputation, it will come your way, like to some degree.
Yes.
Maybe one person does it, like they do 3 projects a year, right? Like you had mentioned, super high end, but maybe you do once every 2 years, or you know what I mean? There's always an opportunity out there for it, if you want to pursue it. But that's what I have found. You got to get your name out there. That only came because we got certified, right? We wouldn't have been on the menu.
Sure.
And then we have a website. We just won Wood Floor of the Year. You know what I mean? What people don't realize is when there's people that are looking for that level of work, they hire people to find the people to do it, right?
Sure.
If they cannot find you're not even going to be. If they see your website and there's nothing that they think looks like it stands out, you're not even going to be allowed to bid.
Oh yeah, I've been a member of the NWFA since I think 1987. And I love it. Their NWFA University is incredible. I remember when we as floor people didn't like something, and we'd write it up and draw it, and we'd fax it, and Bonnie Holmes would copy it if they liked it, and they'd just punch it and put it in the next manual. I have that manual on my desk, and I taught that
Wow.
program 3 years for our Wood Pro training program. And
Wow.
people will say, I was at someplace today, and they go, sorry, you're an NWFA inspector. I go, no. And they go, why not? I go, because the Wright brothers didn't have pilot's licenses. It's the truth of the matter is I just have never had the time to go and pack up and go out there and take it and be approved for it. It's something I probably will like to do one day, but I study it every single day, work it. And I can probably quote that manual covereth the covereth, pages, chapters, where wood and water is, where, etc. It's extremely useful. People need to follow those guidelines. It is the governing body for what we do. And I'll tell you what happens. I got a call this week from a master wood craftsman that's on television, this everything. And I'm like, wow, okay, be cool. This guy knows his stuff. Well, we started talking, and guess what? He doesn't know about flooring. And he was at a professional level. Not, I'm a master craftsman, I'm on television. No, he knows his wood, his species. He can anything. He can carve, he can do this. He's doing a floor, and he needs my help. And he goes, you're the guy. We talked. And he's like, these are what I'm concerned with, and I don't do floors. There's a guy that's smart enough to not say, well, I work with wood, so I can do anything. We're going to get together, and we're going to go into this special NDA project and look at it and work together. And I'm like, I can't get there fast enough. I can't wait to meet this guy and talk wood. My grandfather was a violin maker. There's craftsmen. I used to build furniture. That's how I get into this. Then I meet people like you. You are spot on. Network. Go meet the other people that are supposedly the next greatest thing. You learn amazing things from them.
Oh yeah, just the doors that it opens is really neat. And one of the things I want to encourage anybody that doesn't feel like they're in with the industry or networking or that kind of thing. The first time I was ever introduced to the industry as bigger than just my local area was I realized that it was not long after I had moved to Texas, and the 2019 NWFA convention was in Dallas that year. And I went there. That was, in 2019 in spring, right? And I didn't know one person when I went to that convention, right? So, in 2020 is when I worked on my Wood Floor of the Year project, right? Mm-hmm. And Lenny reached out to me, and I started, I built a relationship with him, and then with some other people. Well, we won that year. So, the next convention that I went to, I'm like, won Wood Floor of the Year. And it was incredible because I had heard, people kind of say, oh, it's a good old boys club, or like, if you really, you know what I mean? Like, as if there's like, I guess maybe there could be an element of a clique.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, at certain levels, but not in the craftsman level.
Yeah. And I mean, people just, I felt so supported. I mean, being somebody that, so when we had won wood floor business design contest, Kim reached out to me, and she made me feel
Kim Walgren, yeah.
amazing. Just like she took care of me, and I'm just going, wow, these people are so down to earth and just like really care. And so, I got to know her, and then I got to know, when I had won the award, a bunch of the manufacturer owners were, big manufacturer. They were coming, shaking my hand and congratulating me, and just saying how much they appreciate, the artwork and the creativity. And I'm going, wow, like this is not, nobody knew who I was, right. There's no reason for me to win the award, and then we went on to win the Wood Floor of the Year as well.
Sure.
And it's like, wow, like you don't have to know somebody to win these contests. Like it really is based on your skill, because like there was people that, people that I knew that I won. Oh, like they had submitted their project.
Sure.
And I'm going, these people are connected, and I cannot believe that, like, because for one, I couldn't distinguish why mine should have won.
Sure.
Right. Because this other work is amazing. Right.
Right.
And I'm a nobody. Like how, that's actually when I went all in on trying to give back to the industry, because I'm going, wow, these people gave me a chance. You know what I mean? They did not judge me based off of who I was, what I looked like. They didn't know who I was. Right. To me that was profound, to experience in this industry.
You know what impressed me about you is, if I'm not mistaken, you got an award for a pre-finished patterned floor. Or I've seen you do pre-finished. I've done those. That ain't easy, there's no pattern to this stuff unless you buy it that way. When you start mixing media and inlaying different other pre-finished floors, and now you got to make a cut and you lose the bevel and you got to stain it. Now you got, let's say a hickory or a maple with a walnut stain, and you now custom cut the edge, and now it's blonde as can be, and you're like, well, I got to touch that up. How did you wind up working with a pre-finished floor in a pattern situation?
Yeah, so I've always had a passion for woodworking in general, and being that I didn't start my career sand and finishing. My dad didn't do it, and we didn't have the equipment, and so my uncle, he'd actually come do it for us, but he lived like 3 hours away, so it was a big deal if he came. And I just never really had the opportunity, other than spending a little bit of time when I was a teenager with my grandfather in Colorado doing it. And so I didn't let that stop me from doing custom work. I'm just going, hey, you know what? I know this is going to be more of a challenge. Everything's got to be more precise, right? I got to figure out how to manipulate these factory edges to work, right? Sure. So if I got a pillowed edge, or I got a micro bevel, or even I've even worked with super high-end Italian, like laser cut pre-finished floors that are they are basically like a sand and finish floor. They're so precision cut, right? And it's like, trying to work with all of those elements to still do the custom work. I'm just going, hey, I don't sand and finish, but I want to do custom work, right? And out of necessity, it forced me to realize you can get spline for different thicknesses of floor. It's not just, it's a little bit harder to find, but they make it for 1/2 inch, 5/8, and 3/4. And they have corresponding router bits for all of those, right?
Sure.
And it's just kind of learning how to use as much of the factory edge as you can. I remember we were talking about, how do you make a pillowed edge out of a engineered floor, right? And, one of the things that, I've come across and seen other colleagues use different techniques for is actually taking a metal bar and rolling it over the edge, and actually, crushing the edge of the board. And if you do it correctly, you actually maintain the factory finish and the stain color. It's flexible enough to actually fold over. And if you do it correctly, you can get an extremely good factory edge, or not a factory edge, but to mimic the factory
You
edge.
do that in woodworking. Like we have customers that are thrilled because we have a square edge pre-finish, and my salesmen are they're thrilled. I'm like, I've seen 100 square edge. They usually go off the market because in New England stuff moves, edge gets knocked off. No one buys cabinetries, furniture with a perfectly square edge. It would lead to disaster. And when I try to do a little class on different bevels throughout the history that are in flooring, we have this thing, like you're saying, it's called I call it the Canadian pinched edge. They were the first to say, well, let's not cut that little edge. It makes it furrowed. You get the finish in. Even when it's pre-finished, it starts to get rough, catches your socks. They would crush it. And I started in the field, like you said, if I had something that already had a finish, if the finish was durable enough, you could roll it over with, like you said, a steel rod or a roller or a tile roller. And now you've made a nice, smooth, uncatchable edge. It looks good. The color's perfectly fine. And the finish is still there. So that's just another little technique that you've picked up along the way. Pillowed edge, man. Listen to this, America. We're going to all be talking about the pillowed edge. You think that... are there any things that you've seen and what you've learned throughout all this time that you see are like common pitfalls for young pros that are trying to kind of do what you're doing or what other people have done when you're doing custom work? Are there things they should really be careful of?
Yeah. Really with custom work, a lot of it has to do with attention to detail and really being observant of what you're doing. So I actually just had a conversation. So our youngest recruit, I got him right out of high school. He volunteered for a project that we're doing for church. We're donating some labor for the church. And I spotted him when he was in high school, and I was going, this kid, he's a little step above everybody else. So he ended up coming to work with us right out of high school, right? And, I was just instilling with him, hey, he missed a few things on a project. And I'm like, hey, I could fix this, but it's not going to take you any more time to be observant of what's going on, catching these types of things. And what's one of the biggest things with custom work that I've seen, especially young people tend to underestimate what it takes to do it, because we're in the YouTube generation, right? And they are, it's amazing. Some of the colleagues and friends that I have that are like TikTok sensations, and teenagers are watching them trowel oil onto a floor,
sure.
Penetrating hard wax oils, right? And it's like, I would see the tendency is to underestimate, what it takes, because I've interviewed plenty of people and they all think that they're a fast learner, right?
Right.
And you know how many people that think that they're a fast learner or pick up on things quick, reality would tell a different story.
I think fast was ever good for me. We'd do big projects. All right, gymnasium, maybe you rack out, try to be fast. But I think I was the slowest kind. It takes me 4 hours to set up the line in the house, then get rolling, and I can fly. And then the closing out the walls takes me another 4 hours. But if I'm doing something intricate or I'm staining, I will slow it all down. I just don't think it's worth rushing into just one error. And think about the average hardwood flooring pro. You might be working a 10, 12, 14, 20-hour day, whatever it is, right? Everybody else in any field, they're like, go home now, take a break, except for maybe the doctor and nursing field. What are we doing? We've been there 12, 14 hours. It has got to be stained and sealed or coated now, or I swear a cat and dog are going to chase each other across this. Someone's going to come through here with their wet feet coming out of the shower. You're exhausted, and you've got to slow it down and be able to do the best possible thing you can do to seal things off or finish them. Do you find that when you're in this situation where we're doing this type of work, you kind of got to slow things down a bit?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of custom work is you underestimate how much time you're going to take to dial everything in just right. It's one of those things, to get it close takes, X amount of time. To get it perfect takes 4X the amount of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, the level of precision that you're going for. And I kind of want to experiment on. So I've seen some projects where they purposefully were not trying to get it perfect, and they're going for the old world look. Like I just did a project. It was, the cost per square foot was incredible for this product, but it was what do they call it? It's a irregular thickness floor, and it's reclaimed.
Okay.
So yeah, it's every board's a slightly different thickness,
Up, down,
right?
Yep.
And it's patina faced, right? So I have to figure out how to make this floor not catch splinters, right? Some of this stuff is nearly petrified wood, right? And it's extremely expensive, right? And I have one shot. Like I cannot duplicate this patina, but the homeowner is also telling me, "Hey, I don't want to get splinter."
Right.
Right. And it's, but if the whole purpose is that it's not precise, there's gaps, there's, open voids in the wood,
Sure.
Some of the grain is pulled, but it's honestly one of the most beautiful floors I've ever done.
Well, yeah, sometimes you go in a 150, 200-year-old building and nothing's been done to the floors ever, and they look outstanding. Like, what a cool looking, floor. They're worn by foot traffic and human hands so much that in an eighth to an inch of wood is missing, but the knots are still hanging tight and everything's smooth. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't sand this flat if you begged me to sand this flat. It's just so much character.
Oh, I know. And so I actually want to experiment with producing, new stuff that it looks old world. I mean, it looks like it's been sitting there forever and the foundation shifted and, produce more, because honestly, you could install it a lot faster when you don't need to be precise. Right. And the whole point is that it's got character, right? It doesn't look like it's been made, because that's the thing. I mean, you can do hand cut floors and make it look like it was nearly CNC produced. And it's like, you know what? Like, I love CNC produced floors. I mean, they're incredible. I mean, I'm not, you get some people like, oh, hand cut, that's all I'm about. I'm kind of like, man, bring it on. Like, I want to do a CNC floor. Right. I want to do a hand cut floor. I want to do a hand cut floor that is not precision, but it's perfect for what I'm going for. I mean, it's like, I really want to, I have a value for all of those different styles, because if each one of those styles, if they're done right, it can look incredible.
Absolutely. Do you think that, moving forward with all that you're involved in, what do you got set up for yourself as far as, do you have any specific personal goals and some, specific business goals with, what you want to do with the rest of your career, or just things that you want to do personally?
Yeah. I feel like we built a great foundation for the business. Right. And, company culture is huge. I mentioned that, right now, I mean, that is my goal right now, is to set up a legacy for my kids, where if they do want to come in to this, my oldest is 10. She's going to Milwaukee to the convention. No. I mean, oh yeah. I'm like tickled. There's actually a zoo. She's really into reptiles, and there's a zoo that she wants to visit in Minneapolis. And she's a smart girl. Like, she's very intelligent. And she kind of connected the dots that that's not too far from Milwaukee. And so she gets such good grades that the teachers were like, you know what? She can take a week off of school. And you know what she told me? This is so cute. So I know she mostly really wants to go to this reptile zoo, right? Which I think is going to be so cool to spend that time with her, right? But she goes, Dad, I think, because I told him, like, there's going to be parts that are going to bore you. Like, I'm going to like the symposium before, and it's like just nerd stuff, right?
Right.
And she goes, well, I think it would be okay. I think it would be good if I learned more about wood flooring.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, I think she might like some of the hands-on stuff, actually, like, legitimately. But it's pretty funny, because I told her, I'm like, hey, you can't complain if you get bored, okay? Blah blah blah. And she's just like, no, I think it would be great for me to learn more about wood floors.
Or what? That's gonna last 5 minutes. So, hey, let me tell you. This is what I see. It's not that I'm psychic, but yes, I have psychic ability. And I'm looking at you, and I'm getting a vibe here. I'm thinking that you should be putting hardwood flooring in tree houses. That's what I'm talking about. You look to me like to be the kind of guy that could take on a treehouse project and make it sing.
I want to be the first person to do a wood floor of the year in a treehouse.
Don't share it with everybody. You just gave out my idea. You could have become famous. I say that because when our podcast crashed, you and I got in this whole treehouse conversation. I got so frustrated. We had all these scraps, and then 25 years in business, we got all this flooring. They're like, why can't you sell this stuff? And it's about 200 feet and 60 feet. And I found a treehouse company, and we sold them some. And they were thrilled. We were going to do all this business, but I could give it to them free. The freight to get it there wasn't cost effective, so it didn't work out. But I wound up, my wife was a realtor for our really good friends here, and I went up and I put pre-finished flooring in the treehouse. And my wife came home one day, she goes, yeah, closed in the house. I'm like, oh, right, that's exciting. And she's like, no, you know what sold it? They couldn't get the kids out of the damn treehouse. And they love the treehouse. So the parents climbed up in the treehouse. Now everybody's up in this treehouse, and they were like, the kids would be heartbroken. The house was beautiful. The yard was beautiful. The whole thing was everybody fell in love with this treehouse. You've done flooring in the treehouse.
Yeah, I did the upstairs. Yeah, we hand scraped some pine. My wife thought, oh, this is so cool. You're hand scraping the floor. And I mostly hand scraped because I didn't really want to try to get a sander up. It's like in the loft portion.
The truth comes out. Right.
Like kill myself trying to get any equipment. I was like, I'll just, I'm going to hand scrape it. That looks like fun. And so my wife, she's like, oh, I want to try it. So she does it for a few minutes, and the daughter does it for a few minutes, and then they go, okay, yeah, I think I'll let you finish the rest. But
right.
it's been cool. Like it started off as it is going to be a tree fort, but we bought some land off of some family property. So we're adjoined to a much bigger portion of land, cows and farming and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so, we have these beautiful, huge live oaks, and that show Treehouse Masters was happening, right, where they build the elaborate ones that you live in. And so by the time everybody had their say in, since it is on family property, the grandparents own it. Finally, they go, yeah, we want something that the whole family can enjoy. I'm like, well, sky's the limit, let me order some plans. They give you of course the plans are only generic. They give you an idea what you can do. Cause it's kind of like you could build a 1-tree house, a 2-tree house, multiple. We did a 3-tree house because I could build a 7,000-pound tree house
right.
with air conditioning and electricity. And
you come home and there's no kids in that treehouse. Your wife's up there, the local bridge club. How many people can you put in this treehouse? Who have you found in this treehouse that aren't children? There had to be somebody.
Yeah. We have people want to Airbnb it,
right?
The kids have sleepover. We do Girl Scout meetings there. Like my wife has done women's group stuff there. It's just everybody. They just feel like a kid again when they're in there. And it's So it's definitely got a lot of it. I've used it to market the business.
Where are these pictures? Are they on your website? Is that where they're? Do you have them on your website?
Mostly on social media. I need to add.
Yeah, go to Facebook or whatever and look at this because when you're a kid and you drag your little buddy right to your mom, right, and you go, hey, can Maddie come over for dinner and then also sleep over? And she's looking at you like, really? You're gonna do this right now? This is what we're gonna do. I'm asking Kim Walgren from Wood Floor Business Magazine, can we do a podcast at Maddie's Treehouse? Because I think that would be great. Imagine what you get you get Michael Purser, Spriglin, you, me, Jake Schlichty. Let's all get in this treehouse. That's it. That's the plan. We're doing this. I don't care if I got to do it. I'm going to do this myself. We're going to have the treehouse floor guys program.
Yeah, it would be like the Deadliest Catch, where
that's what I'm saying. That's the whole idea.
At the same time, in the treehouse. Well, what better environment, right? You're we all work with wood and we're literally in the trees,
I guarantee every single one of us probably at some point in our yard hauled some plywood and some nails up a pine tree. And I once fell out of one. The top of it broke. I landed on my treehouse. So there is a whole different vibe, right? When you get up there and you start framing and you feel like you're up in a skyscraper. You're 6 feet off the ground, and you got these old nails that you found in a bucket, and your dad's like, "Oh God, they're nailing stuff in the trees again." And then somehow something always catches fire, or somebody bring it up. Now you got to put your radio up there, and now you're practically into the microwave and everything. I think with that, we've got to find a way to have some type of a quorum at your treehouse. I think that would be outstanding.
Yeah. I'm on board. I'll make it happen on my end. That there's no shoot. I would just feel like a kid in a candy store if that happened. But it is an experience. It's on a floating platform. You can't have rigid connections because the trees have to sway and move. So when the wind gets going, I mean, it's made to float, and so it moves, and it's all structurally sound and everything, but it's an experience. Let's just say that, especially when you got the scale of the size of this thing.
You know what? Get a little wood burning thingy, and any floor pro that visits, we'll get to burn our name into something. I think that would be great.
yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, I've got to let you escape at some point, which always leads us to the favorite part of the podcast, which is your quick fire rapid questions, which you've never heard before in your lifetime. So I want you to answer them as quickly as possible, and then I will let you escape the podcast, being our second visit by you in over 48 hours. So are you ready for your quick fire questions?
You got it.
Here we go. What is your biggest pet peeve in flooring?
My biggest pet peeve is when people don't have attention to detail.
If you had to pick one, installation or sand and finish, you can only do one. Which one would you rather do?
Oh man, I'd have to go insulation. It's my passion. That's what gets me going.
If you weren't in the wood flooring industry, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh gosh, I think I would be in like a fish and game, outdoors, game warden type. It's a bit different than wood floors, but that I love the outdoors, and that would probably be where I would be. That's actually what I was going to school for.
Can you remember maybe the worst thing that's ever happened to you on a hardwood flooring project?
Getting a call that a place had burned down. It wasn't our fault, but oh man, it's traumatizing.
It happens. Of all this stuff that you own, what's your favorite floor tool? Like, nobody touches this. This is mine. What's your favorite flooring tool?
I love what you can do with routers.
Yeah. What do you think what's the best thing about being a wood floor pro?
I think having that instant gratification of seeing what you're produced and every project being so unique.
All right. It's Lifetime movie channel time, and they're doing your story. What actor plays you?
Oh man. I peed next to Clint Eastwood on a urinal and didn't realize it until I realized what was happening.
Oh no!
So I'm gonna go with Clint Eastwood. He's a pretty cool dude.
He's the man. What are you most proud of in your career?
I'm proud of what we've built in the culture of our company.
Let me ask you a question. I always ask this about people's homes, but we already know that in your showroom you've got the wood and the tile carpet, all these other. I'm sure you get SPCL. You get all that stuff that you shouldn't have. So that's points against you. One down there. How about let's make it easy? In that tree house, is there carpet in the tree house?
No carpet in there.
Yay!
None.
That is the right answer,
there's not even drywall in the treehouse. It's all wood, baby.
That is what
no
we're
candles allowed. I'll just say that.
Oh my God! Was it Daryl Hall had? What is it? He had his show where it's at Daryl's house. We're gonna have the treehouse at Matt's place. This is gonna be great. Matthew Garcia, thank you very much for taking your time. I'm gonna talk with you in like 30 seconds to make sure I don't tell you that we lost our recording. I'm not touching anything. Everything looks like we got it wrapped up. You're brilliant. You're one of our favorites. Let's do this. Let's do this a third time so that other people will get jealous and ask to get on here again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, hey, we got to do the deadliest catch, get everybody
we're going to
together.
do this.
So that would count.
if Wood for Business Magazine is listening, we still are pushing this, bringing all the big heavy hitters together and talking. You might have to censor a lot of what we have to say, but I think it would be very entertaining.
Yeah.
Ladies, gentlemen, everybody, welcome. If you're a floor pro, bring it. Listen, thank you very much, Matt. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you, especially that this is the second time and you had the patience enough to talk with me. No one else has. This is you're a very patient person, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and this has been a great experience for me. So I'm definitely walking away with something to take away with.
Well, congratulations to you and your success and your family. And you got a lot of stuff going on. That's good, brother. I know we will be talking again soon.
Sounds great.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, Matt. Take care.
Catch you later.
Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Horizon Forest Products, a company that offers customers over 75 years of industry experience and one of the most comprehensive inventories in the industry. If you would like to read Matt Garcia's recent article about routers and wood floor business, or you'd like to see his design award-winning showroom floor, just go to woodfloorbusiness.com and enter Matt Garcia in the search box. If you don't get your own copy of Wood Floor Business, make sure you click on Magazine while you're on the website and sign up for your free subscription. And speaking of subscribing, if you liked this podcast, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review All Things Wood Floor. Thanks for listening.